Welcome to the Daily Coffee Pro, the first episode for 2020, everyone. Happy New Year. I hope it has been a wonderful start to the new year for you. Today's episode and the full month of January and February, as well as March, ad sponsorship is going to be allocated towards the bushfire relief funds that are happening in Australia. As you may know, there are catastrophic fires that are happening in Australia right now, and we want to do everything that we can to help raise money and to contribute to the efforts that may be required for any cafe owners or roasters that have been affected by the bushfires. So to start with, today we want to mention that on the 17th of January across Australia, 5 Senses is going to be running an appeal with all of their cafe owners. $1 from every coffee that you purchase at a 5 Senses wholesale customer cafe is going to be donated to a bunch of different charities. You can go to their website to check out who it's going to be from or who it's going to be allocated to. And 5 Senses is donating all of the coffee free of charge to their cafes for this drive. So that's this Friday, the 17th of January. Folks, the fires have absolutely ravaged and devastated a lot of businesses in Australia. These have been catastrophic fires, and so we're going to do our part to do whatever we can to help people in the coffee industry that have been affected. I've put the word out to a lot of the owners of specialty coffee companies in Australia, and we're trying to come up with the best way that we can support the businesses that have been affected. And we will be coming to you and letting you know exactly what we as a community can do to help. Australia's never seen anything like this. So we as a community are going to get together. People in Australia are going to visit businesses that have been burnt down and roasteries that have been burnt down, and they're finding out exactly what they need. They're going to let me know, and I'm going to let you know so that we can come together and see how we can help. Today on the Daily Coffee Pro, I'm going to be talking about leadership in coffee in 2020, which lends itself to the sponsorship message. Now, in 2020, we're going to be having a focus on all the content that we produce for Map It Forward on leadership. So that includes self-leadership as much as it includes leadership in running your own business, running a team, running a movement. There are a lot of movements happening in coffee right now. It includes running different parts of the industry and the role that you play in addressing how you get informed by that. So the coffee price crisis, sustainability in coffee, being an influencer in coffee is a part of leadership. So all of that is going to be stuff that we are creating podcasts and workshops and community events and blog posts and emails and all that kind of stuff is what we're going to be focusing on for 2020. And we are going to be spreading that across as many sectors as we possibly can within the coffee industry. To start off with, in January, the guests that we're going to be having on the podcast are all leaders across different parts. So starting tomorrow, we have Darren Daniel, who is the Executive Director of Cup of Excellence, and or the organization that runs Cup of Excellence. The week after that, we have the CEO of Baratza. Baratza is a grinder company, a specialty coffee grinder company. And we have Kira Kennedy, who is the CEO here in America, for all of Baratza, but she's based here in America. And Kira is a personal friend of mine, as well as someone who I see as a mentor. She's incredible, and I can't wait to have her on the podcast. And then towards the end of this month, on the very last day of this month, we have Kellum Emmanuel. And Kellum is the director, or I believe the executive director for the International Women's Coffee Association. And we've been chatting on some of the initiatives that they're trying to get off the ground for IWCA. And I think it's important that we as a community hear what they are working on and how we can engage, not just to help, but there's a two-way relationship that goes on there. For these organizations are established so that they can help us, and by engaging in what services they have to offer, that in turn helps them to do things like secure funding and to be able to really move the needle with the influence that they have. Particularly IWCA has a board seat on the ICO, the International Coffee Organization. And so while they don't really have a voice, they do have a seat, so they get an ear in to listen to exactly what goes on at that level. When we talk about leadership in the coffee industry, we're living in very interesting times. I feel very fortunate and very excited to be kind of being a commentator and a kind of a thought prodder into what's happening. I like to poke at the different ideas that people are bantering around when it comes to what's happening in coffee. There are a lot of questions being asked right now. Things like, is automation the way of the future? Are we going to have a coffee industry in 10 years from now? What are the roles of different organizations? Is the coffee price crisis going to lead to us having different economic structures and buying structures as we move into the future of coffee? All of these things require us to lead at different levels. Further to that, we have things like, are the ways employees being treated fair? Are employees treating employers fair? Should we have different standards that require us to be business leaders and business owners as we move into the future of coffee? The reason that leadership is going to be a focus for the content that we're creating all of this year is because it allows us to gain an insight into what the future, I'm looking at the full decade of the 20s, and where I would like to see us at the end of this decade is that we have a much deeper, multi-dimensional, open-minded approach to what the coffee industry could look like as we move forward. And I'm excited to explore all of that with you. We're going to do that together. And we're going to bring onto the podcast many guests that will be able to give us insight into how they are leading in their part of the world, or how they wish they could see different leadership come to fruition across our industry. We're also going to be looking at what are the different skill sets that we perhaps have we have holes in that need to be filled in our industry. So this month we'll be bringing an online assertiveness training workshop to everybody. It will be available online if you have access to certain different organizations like the International Women's Coffee Association. There will be discount codes available to you if you are in a minority group and perhaps can't afford to typically get access to these workshops. We are going to try and make it as affordable as anybody, but as I'm sure you can understand, these things cost us a lot of money to, first of all, record and to edit and to get up online, and there are fees that we have to pay to do all of this. So we need to make sure that we're running a sustainable business that means that we can continue to bring you the content that we think is helpful. We're also going to be bringing later this quarter a workshop with Eric McDowell, which is, so Eric isn't from the coffee industry. Eric works for a high-end retail fashion brand, but Eric is an expert in retail sales, and we are going to be bringing Eric in to run a workshop on how to maximize retail sales in the cafe and for your roastery so that you can maximize revenue for yourself as an employee and as an employer. So we see a gap there, and we are filling that gap through leadership and bringing that information to you so that should you wish to get education and be a self-leader, you have this information available to you so that you can have a well-rounded investment in the way that you move forward throughout the next decade and lead yourself in your own professionalism. I believe that there is too many undefined strategies that people don't quite know how to get their head around. And what I mean by that is, who should be paying for an employee's education? When are people meant to know how they should be elevating up through leadership ranks? How do you know you're qualified to do certain jobs? When are you qualified to own a business? When should you own a business? All of these are things that I believe we're not going to have any rules set for. You're going to have to self-lead in those situations. Self-leadership is going to be something I'm going to be writing a lot this year, and I'm going to be inviting other people to write about. We'll also inviting people to, we'll be doing 3 workshops at SCA this year, not as a part of SCA, but as satellite events off-site from SCA that'll be starting the day before RICO, as well as one workshop on the day of RICO. Those will be focused around entrepreneurship, roasting, and we have one other one that we'll be hosting. Now, those will majority be led by other people from around the world. They won't be led by me. Potentially one will be co-led by me. Also this year, we're partnering with Coffee Fest, and I will be running 4 full-day leadership workshops in conjunction with Coffee Fest at the Coffee Fest shows in New York, Tacoma, Washington, Chicago, and Anaheim. And the New York one is happening on the 9th of March. It's a full-day workshop. It is about the 3.5 different leadership styles that I believe exist in the hospitality industry, and they have been demonstrated time and time again. The different cultures that result from those leadership styles, the blind spots that you see that keep repeating themselves again and again for the 3 different leadership styles, and what are some very practical. We'll be spending the afternoon working on practical ways that you can improve on those leadership styles and develop different cultures that will not only improve your bottom line, they will absolutely improve your bottom line, but they will make the workplace more enjoyable for you as an owner, and more importantly for your employees and your customers. So that alleviates your stress and you can start working towards a well-oiled machine. For more details, head to coffeefest.com about that. And pick up your tickets. The tickets for the workshops haven't been announced yet. We'll include links to that when they are ready. But if you are buying tickets, use the code MAPPER4 and you get 50% off your tickets to the Coffee Fest show. I'm excited about this year, friends. If you haven't signed up to our mailing list, we'll be putting out an email newsletter every week that kind of brings together all the content that we've got planned for the week and the content that we've released the week before. This is going to be a very exciting, vibrant year for anyone who's ready to get stuck into how to make the next decade in the coffee industry super exciting, deep learning, open-minded topic exploration, lots of discourse and challenging, and just community that's focused on how do we drive a more thoughtful industry for the next decade. And Mapper Forward is going to be at the epicenter of that with the content that we're bringing. Thank you for showing up for yourselves and for the community and for me as a part of this podcast. I'm excited to be working with you for another amazing year. The podcast will be releasing the Daily Coffee Pro episodes every weekday, and we will be releasing at least one conversation with somebody in the coffee industry or outside of the coffee industry at least once a week. One other thing that we'll be doing this year is that we will be taking your letters and solving your problems on the podcast through the Daily Coffee Pro. And so if you have any questions, send them to support@mapitforward.org, and we will answer your questions at least one episode every week on the Daily Coffee Pro. I can't promise that we'll solve everything, but we will address them together. Good luck this year. I wish you the best year you've had ever in your life so far. And let's do this together. For links on how to support the bushfire appeals, check the show notes below. Don't forget to head to coffeefest.com. We have a new Map It Forward website, mapitforward.org. I'm super excited to get started with you this year. Peace, love, and peanut butter, friends. Let's do this together.